All right, everyone, welcome back. Today I'm doing a quick review of a class I recently attended. This was Praecore and Counting Coup Tactical Distant Carbine Block-I. This was a class that was primarily taught by Mike at Praecore with some awesome assistants, and really they were co-teaching in my opinion, but Fred with Counting Coup. And then there was an optional third day where it was field observation. That was specifically something that Fred was teaching. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend that portion of the class. Timing just didn't work out for me. Kind of bummed out, but I'll at least be able to dive into, what was taught, my opinions on it, where I grew, where I failed during these 2 days. It's my opinion that for most people, precision shooting is, a lot of it is perishable. I think a lot of it will never really go away, but there's a lot of it that's perishable. Right off the bat, I'll go over kind of my experience with firearms, shooting, etc. I was in the Marine Corps. I was not combat arms, but my familiarity with the M16A4 and the M4, etc. is pretty solid, I would say. Specifically the RCO, this is a TAO2, which is the new LED versus the, we'll get into that. It's pretty easy to become familiar with these things. You don't really have to be, in fact, you don't have to be in the military at all to have an understanding of these weapon systems. I was, however, a good marksmanship shooter. And what I mean by that is, this is probably the cheesiest award I've ever seen, but in boot camp I got company high shooter in 2007. I shot a .328, which I'm sure plenty of people have shot better. I can't remember the highest mark you could get in 2007 in basic training. It might have been 330, 340, 350. Anyway, I always shot expert, whatever. I qualified on irons, then I qualified on the RCO. I've also been a firearms instructor on and off since 2012 for various companies and privately. So let's get into what was taught in this class. I'm going to condense this, so Mike and Fred, please don't remotely strangle me if I don't get this right. Basically what we were learning was, aside from the technical aspects like range finding, understanding how to measure things in the optic via mils, measuring out different reticle attributes from EOTechs to the Trigicon and converting it to mils to make measurements and make more effective use of things, right? The main premise of the class, in my opinion, was how do you take guns that are from 10.3, and we had 10.3s, up to 14.5, 16-inch, and so how do we take those and push them to their respectable limits? And a lot of it came down to really baseline fundamentals. Day one was a lot of zeroing, learning how to grasp the concept of natural point of aim, creating a shooting structure. And that's quickly where I found out that the things I was so good at in the Marine Corps had dissipated. Fred would stop by because I was on his side of the firing line and make adjustments to my firing position, and I'm like, I know this stuff, duh. How did I forget that stuff? Like, hey, spread your feet out. You want as much contact area with your feet as possible. And it starts clicking again. You forget these things if you don't actively practice it. And so I was like, I'm an idiot. How do I forget these things? So we spent a week in the Marine Corps going just over that before we even shot our guns. And so this class is marketed for both a budget-friendly shooter and keeping round counts low. You're not expected to come to this class with dollar around match grade stuff. This is, most people in the class were taking 55 grain and stretching it out to that 800 plus meter. I personally, when I talk with Mike before the class, he says, bring what you will be shooting the most. And I'm a little bougie when it comes to my ammo, so I don't shoot 55 grain really anymore. I pretty much have just 75 grain Hornady Frontier is my minimum standard. I brought probably 1,000 rounds. I shot 250 of them, just like the class parameters suggested. Now, having said that, people were happy to shoot more than that round count. You know, I thought I was going to go over myself, but I wanted to see what I can get out of the class while maintaining that round count. And honestly, I thought I had gone way over in my round count, and I actually came in 2 rounds under, 248 rounds. So the buy-in for this class isn't high. They designed this class so that, especially COVID era, ammo prices skyrocketed. Ammo prices are still kind of just okay, so they kept consistent with the low round count. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to be shooting SMKs out of that joint. But again, some people were, but most people were shooting 55 grain, just inexpensive ammunition. This is a 14.5. This upper is a Daniel Defense SOCOM upper, so it has the SOCOM profile heavy barrel, Surefire Mini 2 suppressor. Again, I was running Hornady 75 grain. Out of this barrel, when I chronographed it, I get consistently around 26-33 feet per second. So my zero and everything was based off that before the class. However, he had all of us do a 100-yard zero at, specifically to the ACOG. There was only 2 there, mine and one other person's. You can adjust to make the whatever grain and velocity fall within a pretty good striking distance of those ballistic drops, which we'll get into that. So this is a pretty accurate 14.5. Again, the ACOG TA-02 with that RCO reticle, the chevron, out to 800 meter ballistic drop thing. I got a comp M5 up here, which is baller. And so the justification behind a 100 meter zero for precision distant carbine work, just go to the class. Where this gun anyway, low optic height. Man, there were some people there who were shooting just fine, by the way.
And I mean, we did not always have these.
With some tall boy about as high as my comp M5, which is why I have it up there. However, in the prone for a long time, having a 1.6 rise like the ACOG has, really helpful when you're behind the gun in the prone. So you're not craning your neck back, and my neck still hurt. For a precision gun, not that this is a precision gun, but when you're trying to do 500+ meter shots and you're in the prone all day, you might want to rethink your optic height, or just come up with a solution like this. Now, my stock is not running like this. It's just I'm trying to fit it in the frame, so don't make fun of me. And stock was just okay. I mean, it's not a precision stock, if you will. It's just a carbine stock. Let's quickly talk about, setting guns and stuff aside, the instructors and the teaching style. This class is going to be a little bit different. Mike and Fred, they teach by word of mouth, so I can handle that. I thought it was great. But some people don't enjoy learning that way, and that's okay. So just know that when you show up to a class like this, you're going to be out in the field talking through things as you're working behind the gun. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the ACOG, because it's really just mildly controversial. And also keep in mind, I have a full understanding of my capabilities and the capabilities of the ACOG. If you're thinking that you're going to be able to make precise math and quicker shots with an ACOG at 600+ meters, sure, I guess you can train to that and figure it out, and I think you're going to be spending more time trying to make this optic work than you would a mil reticle and making that work in just a couple days time span. I do like the ACOG. I do like this reticle. However, a mil reticle would be dope, and apparently that might be happening here pretty shortly, which I'm kind of upset about because that'd be awesome. I did make this reticle work, and very effectively. But I know I could be better with a mil reticle to make better math and plug it into the solution here in the optic and make good shots. So I think what we get with the ACOG is simple math, right? We get simple math, and that was demonstrated in the class. You know, hey, your spotter's calling your shots, go one target left, one target up, right? That's not refined math, right? This is simple math where we're making gross corrections, and that's what I like about the ACOG. If you're trying to make the ACOG good and precise, like any other mil reticle, you're not going to be as effective. So it's important that you know the limitations. And I was pushing the very, very far limits of the ACOG in this class. In fact, I will be outgrowing the ACOG. I just know that when I go to step up my game to mil reticles, I know I'm going to have to put money into classes. I'm going to have to get better training. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of YouTube, a lot of research, right? Which is not something I'm focused on right now. I'm focused more on the sustainment side right now, communications, radio, logistics-oriented stuff, the things that aren't as cool. I just have a very good understanding of where I'm at, where this optic is at, where my next step is, and I'm not there yet. I'm not going to talk much about the aim point. It's super high up there. It's 0 to 100 yards, anywhere from 0 to 300. If I put this dot at the center of the target, I'm hitting it somewhere. I can shoot 500 yards with this dot. I've done it before. It's not hard. But honestly, 0 to 500 yards is easy for anyone. Case in point, the Marine Corps. We shoot, everyone's like, oh, they qualify at 500 yards. It's not that hard, and we did it with iron sights. We took 17-year-olds and trained them for a week on the M16, and they made hits. So again, that's not a hard shot. Wind isn't super crazy at 500. You do have to account for it, whatever, but it's the 600 to the 1,000 yard or the 900 or so meters that really kind of push the limits of the cartridge, of the weapon system itself, whatever. That bullet is just has lost a lot of velocity. You're looking at transonic. There's a lot more going on, right? So yeah, the optic, it's good for its intended purposes, and it's good within a certain scope. No pun intended. If you are looking at putting any considerable amount of time and effort, whether that's training classes or trying to self-learn at even a medium level, you will outgrow this optic probably relatively quickly. There's also a nostalgic appeal for me, right? Which is okay too. I mean, this gun is archaic in itself. It's an M4. It's okay to have a gun that you just think is cool too. I think the ACOG is cool. I think the Comp M5 is dope. I think the M4 system is cool. There's better guns out there. There's different guns. So don't get too wrapped up in trying to build the most epic whatever. A few other things I learned about this gun in this class. I've always been kind of whatever about this angled grip, and now I'm just going to take it off. It's only ever been an index point, which I don't really need. It doesn't really help me with recoil management at all. I can pull the gun on my shoulder with my hand without that there just fine. I'm going to remove this. I really don't see a use to it. When I put things on barricades and stuff, it just gets in the way. So that's coming off. Other changes are, I don't know if I'm going to get rid of the ACOG, but the second they come out with that no reticle, I'm going to look at it and want to get it, and then consider, man, for about $1,600, which is what I paid for this optic, I can get into some other glass that has variable magnification, different reticle options. So there were some other things about the gun that I didn't like. My sling, the Haley strategic sling, I've liked for a lot of my other guns, but for precision work and making a field expedient like loop sling, it doesn't work very well. And I know people have these crazy, ridiculous, mixed opinions about different gun personalities, training personalities out there, and they have these weird cult followings that will go at each other's throats all day. I have Haley mounts for sling, light. I have Bobro mounts here. I have other things as well. I don't care for the drama. I buy what works for me and not based off of someone's personality. So when I criticize a piece of equipment, it's not because I don't like the person behind the company, it's because it just doesn't work for me. That's all I'll say about that. So I digress. Let's move on and wrap this video up. There were other just very minor tweaks I made to the gun while at this class, but the biggest thing is, if you're looking to get into precision shooting or distant carbine shooting, you know, up to that 900 meter mark, you can do it with red dots, you can do it with ACOGs, you can do it with mil dot reticles, whatever you want, right? It's just a matter of how are you compartmentalizing the math from the optic, and can you do the math? Can you plug in this firing solution the system and the model for making the hit at 900 meters? So don't get too sucked into the whole, you need this, you need that, whatever. Man, people in Afghanistan with old rusty K98s and iron sight Mausers were killing people. So don't get so inside your head that you need the best equipment to make an effective shot. It helps, absolutely it helps. But once again, this gun did that. My 45-70, 840 meters. I had a SRO on this, but my holdover was 80 feet at least. That's really about it. I hope that was concise enough for you. My end recommendation is I recommend it. Take the class. They have a Block-II, which is going to be more into, I believe, partner shooting, so shooter, spotter, and alternating. So again, I mentioned before, having a spotter who is spot on is extremely effective and useful. All right, well, thanks for watching this short video, and catch you next time. Question, what's the long stick for?
I, Ian Robertson, sound mind, have decided to take this challenge on. I'm going to shine my light where no light has been showered.
Why do you